Hello! Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everything's working right as I'm looking around trying to make sure. Welcome to another session of the Generals Lounge. And yeah, again, bit of chaotic start as well, especially with the old coronavirus heading round. Lots of changing plans and things like that. Today, who we got joining us? We have Protozocker. Thanks very much for joining us. A weekly kind of resident member of the Generals Lounge. Thanks, Protozocker, for joining us.
Good to be here.
Excellent.
Always good to be here.
We also have Tiger. Thank you very much for joining us again, Tiger. You were here, I think, was it 2 weeks ago? Previously here.
Yeah.
Well, we enjoyed Tiger being here, so we've got him back again. And new member for tonight, Nilla. Welcome, Nilla, to the Generals Lounge. Can we hear? Is he there? Okay, we may not have him at the moment, but we'll work around that. Let's turn up the volume as well so people can hear. Okay, so hopefully we'll get Nilla at some point, but I understand that. Okay, he's just switching. He's switching device, so we'll deal with that, and he'll come back to us because he was previously on his mobile phone in the back garden in America, so we were lucky to have him, but we'll move on. Also, just before I start, I just want to link in the Twitch page for Tiger there in chat. Make sure you go to Tiger's Twitch and give him a follow. And also Nilla's YouTube page is just up there as well in chat. Make sure you head over to those pages and give these guys a follow. And we'll get Nilla back shortly. He is in the... Oh, he's out again. Right, we'll move on to the first subject of the day, and that is obviously Steel Division League. So I think let's make sure we get the right division up first. So we're going to chat about Steel Division League and really how the league's been going, because Protozocker, are we on the final week now?
Yeah, final official week, but we still have a couple of games left to play, and some people got affected by coronavirus, so it might be that we will prolong it by one more week. But as of now, it's the final week, and yeah, like 95% of the games are played, which is pretty cool. Or 90%, I would say, not 95.
Yeah, I can see a lot of games were being played this week. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to cast all on my channel, so that will be slightly unfortunate, but I will try and get as many games out for people as possible. I know you've been casting a lot, but obviously with coronavirus, I think you've been moving around a bit as well, haven't you?
Yeah, that's why you see a yellow background now, not a white one, because I'm at my parents' place now. And yeah, sitting home now for 12 days.
Dedicated to the Generals Lounge. Did you get there today, was it?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Like 8 hours with a car run through Germany. And
Man.
then,
yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Group A. Sean is, hopefully you guys can see the graphic as well. Hopefully it's zoomed in enough for you. You guys in chat, let me know if you can't see the screen. Let me know and I will change things up. At the moment we've got Sean sitting pretty at the top of that group, and I think it's confirmed that he is going to win that Group A. Is that right, Proto?
Yeah, he is confirmed through. He had played all his games, and everyone else has a loss in their resume, so he is for sure number one. And ZZ by now is also for sure number two, because he won against Fruitlord. So even if Fruitlord gets a second win, they still have the same point numbers. And yeah, so it's really about the third spot that is still everyone able to pick up, except Lossa. And yeah, that will be pretty interesting with the games ZZ versus Charles and Pixie versus Fruitlord.
Yes, yeah. So Lossa, yeah, Pixie versus Fruitlord. I think that would be quite a key one, because I think I would have put Pixie as favourite looking at the table beforehand. But, you know, he's got 3 ties and a loss. Frublord has picked up the win. So that is going to be a really tight game.
Yeah.
I think it's between those two, isn't it, on who gets third place?
Well, if they tie, then Frublord is. Yeah, then it's Frublord. Yeah, it's between those two.
Yeah.
Even if Charles wins, he's only up to. Yeah, he's up to 5 points then, and that will not be enough. But if Charles win, it will be Lossa who gets last spot, which would be super unfortunate because he got so many good ties. Yeah, we can hear you.
Alrighty, let me know if it's echoing or not, and I'll try to switch back over to my phone.
No problem. We've got you now, Nila. So that's good. welcome to the Generals Lounge.
Thank you very much.
Guys in chat, if you are having any sound issues, you can't hear anyone, let me know and I'll just adjust the levels if I can. We were just, Nila, just to fill you in, we were just talking about Group A, Steel Division in Division 1. And we were mentioning, obviously, Sean is through, and really it's between Frublord and Pixie for that one.
Yeah, and Frublord only needs a tie, and Pixie needs a win there. So, yeah, Frublord only needs to get one game there. But yeah, do you think he can do that, Noah? I'm actually interested in how you rate those two players, Pixie and Frublord, and if you have played them lately.
I've beaten Pixie quite a bit in 1v1s, but I could just be decks in bad games. I only played him a little bit though. The issue that they're going to run into is Floodlord's been off and on lately. He's been having a hard time with the new meta, and I've only seen Pixie in team games, so I can't really gauge where Pixie is. But from the rankings right now, it looks like Floodlord has been able to start turning himself around, so I think he has a good shot at it. But in all honesty, I think it's really up in the air. I think it's probably going to be a tie between the two.
Yeah, okay. So that would be enough for Frublord to get through.
Yes. And I think he'd be very happy with that. Like Nila, you were saying, I think he had a tough start to this, but I think he will be happy to get through to the playoffs. So, yeah, there's going to be a real big game between those two. Group B, we've got Gonzo with 4 wins, looking very nice. Nila, yourself there, you are second with 3 wins. So both of you are safe through. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And then Neff, just behind, looks like I think he will be safe through.
And I think his last game is against Presta John. So if he loses that and loses the game against Gonzo, then he might not be safe through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only needs to get one more map.
Oh, right, okay.
3 games. He needs one more map.
Pick up against John.
Yes.
Professor John's going to win that one.
You do or you don't?
I don't.
You don't. Yeah,
Neff is real strong.
It's very interesting. I didn't realise his last 2 games were basically against Pressa John and Gonzo. So I guess Gonzo, you've got to expect really, or you've got to think of a Gonzo win there. So yeah, that game between Neff and Pressa John, I mean, I guess if Pressa John wins, it would go down to the kind of points difference, which I would find difficult to call at this stage. But I think because Pressa John would have the win over Neff, I think he would go through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they.
But yeah, I think Neff actually has a good shot to get a point against Gonzo as well, and then he would be through anyways because he got a couple of wins against him in the strike team when we were beta testing. He's a really good 1v1 player. He doesn't play too much though, so you don't see him too often. But yeah, he really knows what he's doing, and he's one of the stable players from Wargame actually.
Neff is in Wargame?
Was he a Wargame player, Proto?
Yeah, Wargame Red Dragon, yeah.
Yeah. Nila, I have a question for you. A question came in on chat about the decks people were playing. I think obviously in Group A or Division 1, the top division, was there really a big mix of decks, or were people playing similar kind of decks all the way through?
So my 2 losses came from a Lobos loss. So Gonzo went Lobos and then Neff went Lobos, and that killed me. So Lovas was a big one until they nerfed it. I don't think we're doing that anymore. They kind of nerfed that deck into oblivion. And then with the other decks, I messed up and I let Gonzo go guards armored, which killed me. And then other than that, I want to say that Hellbrag, he went, I think the 21st or some armor division. I know he went lair. I'm pretty sure he went lair. But it's pretty much been, I've gone allies the whole time. It's either been a Russian infantry division or it's been like a German armor division, unless it's Lovas.
Okay, very interesting. Do you think the changes with the Fate of Finland are really going to shake up the use of divisions that people are going to play, particularly in the top division?
Yeah, me and Gonzo were talking with Fredo and chat a little about it, and we're saying that it's probably going to end up, you'll see divisions with either really good planes or good AA or both being either banned first or picked first. So you're going to see decks that don't have any AA, like the 26th and the 358th, basically get dumped and nobody's going to play them. Because if you go 26 and then somebody goes, say, the Finnish Armor Division or Korik, you're going to get steamrolled because you're not going to be able to deal with the planes themselves since fighters are still unreliable, and then you don't have the AA to stop a massive aerosol later in the
Yeah.
game.
So the current situation with planes, the fighters, I think, still are not in the correct sort of balance. You think that really is going to affect things?
Yeah, they're better, but they're not good enough.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just move on to Division 2. So we have this on screen now. Tunique and Medal Phase, both at the top now. Were these? I think these played the other day. I was watching Medal Phase on stream, so go check out his Twitch stream. He is now streaming, and I don't know whether he got a tie or a loss in that game.
He lost it.
Did lose it, yeah.
Because of that, Tunique won the three-way fight between Metal Face, Tunique, and Gove. So even if he loses against Scout Spirit in the last game, he will only they might have all 10 points at the end. If Gove wins against Scout Spirit and then Tunique loses against Scout Spirit, they will all have 3 points. But because Tunique won against Metal Face and Metal Face won against Gove, it would be Tunique, Metal Face, Gove.
Yes. Due to the differences, due to the points differences.
Yeah, to the direct tiebreaker, actually. So.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And with that, Tunique would go, Tunique is already safe first place in that group, which allows him to go directly to the semifinals. And then Gove and Metalface are pretty much through, though Gove could get kicked out by Scout Spirit, who could also go up to 10 points.
Yeah, so I think definitely in Group A, it's kind of like Scout Spirit is the man to watch, really. He kind of dictates how everyone finishes in that group. Well, maybe apart from Von Paulus and Skoda, but, you know, it is what it is. And Group B, we have Sahandor sitting. In fact, Group B looks very tight at the moment. I'm interested what your thoughts are.
It's still pretty close, and I think Gaspar and Thomas. Well, Thomas is out, I think. Yeah, Thomas is out already. But between Jack, Curbs, Yadris, and Gaspar, it's still pretty much up in the open. Jack has to play. Oh no, wait. Jack played Curbs already. I'm missing a game there. Wait, let me double check. There might be a result missing.
I don't know if Jack beat Curbs if he did play him, but if that game is yet to play, my money's on Jack.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Nila, what your thoughts are of both of these groups. Do you want to fill us in your thoughts on both of these groups?
Yeah, so we'll start with Group B because that's what I'm most knowledgeable on. Jack just got updated to 3 wins. That's what I expected it. He started off a little rough with a loss and a tie, but he is getting really good. I've been practicing with him in 1v1s, and he's done really well with Court. He didn't know if there was a counter to it, and I beat him with the 184. But no, he's real good with Cork. He's pretty good in team games. I'm expecting him to probably move up to Division 1 out of all these guys. He's, from what I've seen, probably the most improved so far. And he beat Gonzo, and he's beaten Sean. Like, he's no joke.
Yes, yeah, I definitely think we have that updated result for Jack. He is going to sit there at the top, and he can't be knocked off top place now either. So it's really between kind of Curbs and Idris and Gaspar as to who gets third spot. Protozoka, what's your thoughts on that? It looks like Curbs does have to play Gaspar as well.
Yeah, and Gaspar, if he wins against Curbs, if Iadris loses his last game against Tomasz, oh no, yeah, if he gets a tie or lose there, then it's actually Gaspar going through in front of Iadris and Curbs because he also won against Iadris.
Yeah.
So Iadris has to win.
It's very tight. Very tight, because if Iadris wins, which you kind of assuming he may well do, because Thomas is sitting there in the bottom's position, then Curbs kind of has to win as well to keep him going through. It's going to be very tight on the kind of the deciding points between the two. So Curbs has still got a lot to do. I think maybe this sits with Iadris as the most likely to go through.
Yeah, and Gaspar has to hope that Iadris at least loses one map against Thomas, and then he wins against Curbs.
Yeah.
I think Curbs has troubles at the moment with his PC. Hopefully he can fix them.
Yes.
It's hard to get... electronic stores are closed now in UK as well, right?
Oh,
I don't know. UK's been pretty open still.
Sorry, say that again, Protozoka.
In the UK, are electronic stores closed as well?
I think most of the stores are closing now. The last sort of 2 days, well, kind of today really, everywhere started to close. But I think deliveries are still kind of available at the moment. So
yeah, because Curbs might need parts to fix his PC. So
yeah, it's going to be tough, I think.
Yeah.
You can go to a public library. That's it.
Anything will run Steel Division 2. It's like the only game that runs on my PC. Right. Thanks very much for your thoughts on that group. Let's head over to division number 3, and we had quite a few games getting played, I think, in this division. If we're looking at Group A, Gearhead, I think, did pick up the victory against Wondernoob. I think they played sort of one game and then had a gap and then played the other game, I think. So yeah, Gearhead cementing his place at the top. I think he was a late in replacement, wasn't he, Protozoka?
Yeah, that's why he's also there. He would be usually a Group 2 player. It's a bit he's a bit over the power limit of Group 3. That's why he's also muscling through there, as expected. I hope the other guys pick up till the playoffs, though, because I think a lot of guys have potential to beat him. For example, Crippling Depression in Group B got a lot better lately, and that's why he's also sitting on the top there. And yeah, Wondernoob, it wasn't really a close game against Gearhead. So yeah, Gearhead really dominated his group there. But Wondernoob and Cold, if they both practice, because both of those guys should get through as well, this group isn't really close anymore. It's really Gearhead, Wondernoob, Cold, even though we have some games still to play. Those guys can get to the finals as well, especially Wondernoob if he practices a bit more.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased Evil Nick is sitting in there with 5 points though. I mean, he will be happy with that, I think. And coming up from the lower sort of Division 4, I think he's proven that he can definitely stay in this division, and hopefully, next season, he'll have more experience under him, so he'll push on from there next season. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think Gearhead definitely is a Division 2 player. It's just, you can only fit so many people in divisions. Andy came in as a replacement. Also, Wondernoob. I actually think Wondernoob is probably a fairly decent Division 2 player. I think he's probably right on that edge where he needed a season in kind of in Division 3 to push him on to Division 2, I think. So it'll be interesting to see both of those players sort of next season.
Yeah, Gearhead's pretty good. I think I played against him no, I think it was Helljumper. They both have 117 at the end of their name, but I've seen Gearhead play a bit, and he's pretty good. Yeah, I think he could definitely hold his own in Division 2.
Yes, I think so too. Group B, Crippling Depression up there on 9 points. Couture 79, White Eagle, I think he's in the chat up there as well with 7 points. Is he safe at this point? I'm not sure he is. I think Crippling Depression looks safe. What do you think about White Eagle?
You need 8 points to be through safely, so I think, but he could be through, but he needs 1 more point to be safe for sure. So 1 more map would be nice for him. Yeah, it's a really tough group. I think I'm missing 1 result there actually. No, I'm not. Okay, so yeah, this is a really, really tough group and a really tight one at that.
Yeah, so Finzen has Big Jim and Genzi Kaka left to play. So I think if he gets a win against Big Jim, he could put himself up onto 8 points. So yeah, I think actually Finzen versus Genzi Kaka might well decide the results in this table.
Yeah, then it's also Crippling Depression versus White Eagle, and I actually think everyone there can still get up to 8 points. So it might actually Crippling Depression falling out with 8 points. That even though he's at the moment at the first place after 8 games played. So yeah, the top 4 there, Crippling Depression, White Eagle, Gensei, and Vincent, still all have a good shot to get out.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, go on.
No one solidified at the first place. Oh no, Crippling Depression already has 9 points. Why does he have 9 points though? He has 2 wins, 1 tie. If I gave him, was it a 2v2?
Oh, yeah.
I realized something. I gave him 4 points against Maxwell. We'll change that in a second.
Okay, so good job we did this. Hello, White Eagle. He's in the chat. We just saved you a point there by finding the Crippling Depression mistake on this table. But yeah, Nilo, I'm not sure whether you have any thoughts over these players in Group B at all.
In Group B, I've seen a little bit of Crippling Depression, and I've been kind of following him a little bit. It looks like he's doing really good. I'm surprised to see how well White Eagle's doing. I haven't really heard of him quite yet. And then I've also played against Biznit a while ago, and he did pretty good too. So I think out of this division, I think Group B is a little bit weaker than Group A just because Gearhead and Wonder Noob, I think they're the best out of this division. But I feel like Crippling Depression could give Wonder Noob and Gearhead some trouble in the postseason and playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a really good assessment. And actually, I think White Eagle as well is I mean, he's in chat, so he'll tell us if we're wrong, but I think he is fairly new into the game, or newish to the game. So I think he's doing really well to be in that position.
He played his first. He played his first ranked game in January. His first 1v1 game as well. That was. And he had a really rough time in his first game in the league, and then he improved rapidly over the couple of weeks afterwards. He lost his first game against Gensei 2-0. That was real rough. And he even was talking about that he was maybe a bit too high seeded in Group 3 because he was a new player and stuff. Then we were talking and finding a solution, and then he was like, no, just fuck it. I will give my best, try to get through. And then he turned up everything to 110%, and now he has 2 wins and a tie there.
Wow.
And is 1 point away.
He is doing really well. Yeah, he's doing really well. Let's move on to Group 4 quickly. I think we've had a lot of results in Group A. It looks like Mr. Alexander and, in fact, GG Kringle and Stockton are all through. Can a lot still make it?
He won against GG Kringle. So, he needs a win in his last game, which is against Enemies Forever. But if he gets that, he actually jumps ahead of GG Kringle, who was winning against Stockton, And then we actually might have a three-way tie there.
Yeah, that is going to be really interesting then. So a lot, I think you kind of expect he will get a win against Enemies Forever. Enemies Forever is a very new player to the game. He's literally only just started playing because he contacted me before the season started. I think he'd only played a couple of matches. So it's understandable that he's struggling a bit at the bottom of the table. But you've got to expect, obviously, a lot will pick up the win against him. So that's going to be really tight at the top of Group
so then
A.
Pringle might be out, even though he's sitting at second position, because also Stockton's last game is against Enemies Forever.
Yes. Right. Okay. Let's just check that. No, he has already won that game. His last game is against Mr. Alexander.
Oh, then Stockton has to get 1 point there, otherwise he's out.
Yeah.
And that will be rough because Alexander is really, really hard to beat. Stockton is good as well, though. Our Korean player.
Yeah,
So
I've played against Stockton a bit. He's pretty good too. He's getting better slowly but surely.
Yeah. Just moving down to Group B quickly. Ludo Jad. In fact, 2 less games in this one. Hopefully they'll finish off these games shortly.
you haven't reloaded this page in 10 minutes or so.
Have
right?
I not?
Because right before
No.
we started, I uploaded one or two more games in Group B.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. So I have uploaded now. Yes. So Ludo Jad sitting up there with 12 points. He is definitely on top. Time. Go on. Sorry.
He had also had a really crazy run. Like he started with a loss against Time to Collision, and he was also pretty new, as far as I know, and was sitting on the last spot after week 1 with his loss, and then he was cranking it up toward 50% or something. Like he was muscling through everyone, and didn't even look too close anymore in his last victories. He was just really dominating, and yeah, he could still. The first loss he had could still come and hunt him if Time to Collision gets a win in his last game, or does it? No, he's actually through at first spot anyways.
Yes.
Because Time to Collision can only get up to 11 points. So, yeah. And then it's Vasily or Stanislavski who gets through in 3rd place. And that might be it. I think those two still play each other.
No.
No.
Vasily won. Vasily won against Stanislavski.
Yeah, so Stanislavski will have a rough time to advance. He has to win against Kissinger, and then he has to hope that Vasily loses all his 2 games.
Yeah. So the important one's going to be Vasily versus Jewism there, and I think Vasily can try and pick up the win. I'm kind of surprised by Jewism's position because I've played him a couple of times on Quick Play, and he's not a bad player. So I'm kind of surprised he struggled a little bit.
Yeah,
Some
I
people
expect
run into issues like that. And they get into the game and then they just kind of freeze up and get too tunnel vision because they know there's something on the line.
Yes, it may well be a bit of the pressure of it being the Steel Division League that causing that. Proto, did you have anything to add?
That's definitely what happened to me in my first game against Gonzo.
Yes, it happens to all of us. Proto, did you have anything to add there?
I think Duzium was one of my favorite players actually when we got in here because he didn't have that much experience, but he has a good training facility because he's also out of those this group, the French group with Lossa and a couple of other good French players.
Yes.
And he also played in a 3v3 tournament with them. But yeah, everyone else just even seemed to be practicing more there because Ludo Judd, Kissinger, all those guys are really, really new to the game as well. I think Time to Collision has the most experience in not times of hours in the game, maybe, but he's also pretty new to 1v1. So it's really cool to see all those guys practicing and playing their heart out.
Yeah, and I think throughout the season you see people coming on and improving. I pick out David G. He is a big member of my sort of community, but I think he's improved massively over the course of the season. I know he's only picked up 1 win, but it's just every game I can see him improving, and other players as well, like Enemies Forever, I'm sure will be improving massively as well. Time to Collision just mentioned in chat that Duism, he says that Duism was outpicked in almost every game. So I'm assuming that's in like the battle group kind of pick and ban phase, which can kind of affect newer players a lot more, I think.
Yeah, it also affects old players. I remember from back in the day in Still 1944, Q 2521, who was one of the best players there from Korea. He was so shitty in banning and picking. Like he was pretty much the best player mechanically. He's still one of the best in that in Steel Division 2 when it comes to micro. But he was just not minding about thinking about what to ban and stuff. So yeah, that's why he had some losses in tournaments. Even though I think when it came down to hands-on skill, he was in the top 3, if not the best player.
Yeah, I can say that for sure. Is the reasons I lost those games to Gonzo and Neff, I think a lot of it came down was just a division choice. Because if you watch the game against Gonzo, the first one when I was the Polish home army, I had him on the ropes. It's just the deck wasn't built to go on that long against somebody as skilled as Gonzo. And then against Neff, when he went Lovas again, I didn't ban Lovas after getting destroyed by it the first time, and it happened again.
I actually played Gonzo on stream yesterday. And I actually got myself up to 16-8 at one point, and I was really chuffed by that. So yeah, I think all of you guys in the top, Nilla, Gonzo, just absolute fantastic players. And the best I can do is get to 16-8 at some point in the game, and then it all crumbles beneath me. Right. Sorry.
And I had a crazy game the other day where he was the Gronostrelki division and I was Korik, and it was just a quick play game. And damn, was that a good game! I put it in the Steel Division League interesting games. If anybody wants to watch that replay, I really recommend it. It looked like something straight out of Syria.
I look forward to hopefully seeing someone cast that. I'm busy doing Steel Division League, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that one, but hopefully someone will. Right, let's have a look at the second part of tonight. We want to talk about income, because there have been some big changes with Fate of Finland, and Tiger's going to come back in on this segment, so hopefully he'll tune back in at this point. But yeah, there have been some pretty big changes in Fate of Finland. We got 2 brand new incomes, Flatline and V for Victory. So I thought we'd take some time to kind of discuss them and see what people's thoughts are of. So I've put together a little bit of a chart which shows. Won't see my mouse on screen. I'm just realizing, but on the left hand side, it's the phase A at 10-minute points. So that's the very end of phase A. And then on the far right hand side, the 30 there, that's minutes. So that's the 30-minute point in the game. And then the left axis, or the up and down axis, that's the number of points in total. So the kind of, if you look at, let's pick Vanguard as the very top income on phase A on the left. Obviously, that starts as the highest income at the 10-minute mark, and then by the 30-minute mark, it's actually kind of joint lowest with Maverick. So that's kind of how this graph works, just to kind of explain it a little bit so you guys can hopefully understand. I'm sure you understand it anyway, but I have a habit of over explaining things. So yeah, I'm really interested in how you guys feel about the 2 new incomes in particular, kind of Flatline and V for Victory. So yeah, let's just start off discussing them, and then we'll kind of jump in with any thoughts that we have. So yeah, Nilla, what's your kind of take on the 2 new incomes?
So V for Victory, at first I liked it, and then I started to hate it, and I'm still in that boat of not liking it. It's kind of a worse Juggernaut. Now you can't use Juggernaut or V for Victory in 2v2s or 1v1s. Well, you definitely can't use it in 1v1s whatsoever. You might be able to pull it off in a 2v2, but they're strictly pretty much for 3v3, 4v4s. Now for balanced, balance and anything above a 2v2 just really handicaps you. There's really, the due to being a jack of all trades, master of none, it hurts you and your team in the end. And for 1v1s and 2v2s, it's okay if you have a certain specific deck that's made based around that 130 points. Like if you're Korik or Gronostrelki and you're spamming planes, or you're the Pansar division and you're spamming planes, I think it's more so for that than anything else. Because on the flip side, Maverick does everything a balance can do for the first like 20-25 minutes, and then after that, if you haven't pushed through with Maverick or you've gotten pushed back as balance, the game's kind of decided at that point.
Interesting, very interesting. Tiger, I'm interested to get your thoughts on the two new incomes.
So, on my own stream when I was reviewing the divisions live, I said that Flatline was gonna be a Vanguard destroyer, and I want to take that back. Both incomes seem to be extremely similar, and it seems to be a toss of a coin whether the game is gonna be long or not. If the game is gonna be long, then Flatline has a slight advantage. If the game is gonna be short, Vanguard has a slight advantage. So it all comes down to how the game is gonna progress, and I feel like it's more of a flip of a coin between Vanguard and Flatline.
Yeah. Flatline, I think, was the one that was most discussed, and a lot of people were like fearing it would destroy Maverick and Vanguard because it would just not have they would not have the advantage early on against it, and then it would destroy it later on. I think against Maverick, that's kind of true, but against Vanguard, it doesn't matter too much because the advantage Flatline gets in C phase is also not that big. It's one infantry unit basically per minute, and you can, if you get the head start as Vanguard, you for sure can allow that to happen and still get the victory later on.
Yeah, like the big thing with that is so what I've noticed is if you're a Vanguard and you're playing a competitive game and you're good at trading and you're very cautious with, not overly cautious, but you're good with just your units in general and keeping them alive, you're gonna be more than okay, and it just kind of snowballs. Because when you hit B and C phase, that extra like 10 and 20 points after you get a good like ball rolling in A phase doesn't really matter much. And even after the first like 2-3 ticks in B phase as Vanguard, that doesn't really, the points don't add up to that much at that point, because if you already have the initiative and you're pushing your opponent back, they're trying to flood in units to stop your breakout. And at that point, it's going to be more so piecemeal than anything for most players. Most players won't be willing to give up territory, so you'll just slowly pick them off.
So yeah, it's very interesting. I think initially when I saw Flatline, I kind of was really surprised when I first saw it, and I think most people are. I would say I was on Tiger's line as well. I thought that it would just ruin Vanguard and Maverick, but I think the more I see it, the less I think it does. I still think if somebody wants to play balanced, somebody's a balanced kind of player, and they're coming up against someone playing Vanguard or Maverick, I think they're more likely to pick Flatline. And I think it probably will do better, but I think if you look at the motivations for somebody picking a Vanguard income, they want to finish the game, before 30 minutes. Basically, 25 minutes is when it crosses the balanced income. So they kind of want to finish the game by that point, and it's exactly the same with Flatline. It crosses at the exact same point. So I still think people will pick Vanguard decks or Vanguard incomes, and I don't really think Flatline is going to change too much after all.
I think Flatline is a buff for certain divisions, like all the German tank divisions. It's really good for, because you're gonna get a Panther per minute with it, which you can't with Vanguard after A phase. So because the 130 points allow you the whole game through to get a 1 Panther per minute, which is a perfect fit for these divisions. But yeah, it's not really that much of a meta change when it comes for income picks against each other.
Yeah, and I definitely pick up on the point there about it being a buff for German divisions. I think Flatline probably is better for the German divisions than the Russian divisions because of the cost of Panthers and Tigers and that kind of thing. I think we had Panzer as like I think it was in as an S tier division, and I think a big part of that was the fact that you could afford a Panther in Phase C on Vanguard income. So I do think Flatline kind of helps the German divisions more than it helps the Russian division. I don't know how you feel, Nilla and Tiger, about that.
So my big issue with German divisions and 1v1s, which I kind of steer away from them, is I don't like being reliant on heavy, like more expensive tanks in 1v1s unless it's an IS-2. Just because IS-2s are so versatile. The issue with Panthers is Panthers are kind of a glass cannon within themselves, even with Tigers as well in a 1v1. If you lose like a Panther or a Tiger, that's a minute worth of saved up income gone. And with how powerful airplay is right now, I think relying on expensive tanks later into a game in 1v1s is only going to hamstring you and basically make you lose. Like I was playing a 1v1 against my friend the Graham Slam the other day, and I was Cork and he was I want to say HG or 20th Panzer, and his Jagdpanzer 4s and his Panzer 4s were getting taken out by my Stukas with the AT. And there wasn't really much you could do about it because in A phase is balanced. It was either buy a couple of tanks or buy a tank in AA and then have to hold out and let me rush with my like A phase rush with all my cheap infantry. I do think currently that mass amounts of cheap, inexpensive infantry with air support is kind of the I think that's going to be the meta, or cheap tank rushes like a 50 point, 45 point T-34 or an MCHA is going to be really where everything kind of comes together in 1v1s. And I think allies have the advantage there, and that's why I think balanced for the Germans, unless you're an air focused deck or cheap infantry focused deck, isn't really going to do much to help you.
Interesting, interesting. Tiger, do you have any thoughts? Is Flatline better for the Germans or the Russians?
I feel like overall, it really comes down to what your division can do and what income you're gonna take. For example, the 28th Jaeger I think is really good with flatline, but I wouldn't take the 5th Panzer probably with flatline, or maybe the 21st Panzer with. I wouldn't probably do that. It really comes down to what division you're playing. And I feel like divisions that are more reliant on infantry will do better with flatline rather than heavy tank divisions, but I don't know.
I think Sherman divisions are also pretty good with it because you
Oh
can
yeah.
get 2 Shermans a minute
Yep.
permanently. Like I played with my 3rd mechanized, I think, or with the 9th cavalry. It's also pretty fun because you can spam a lot of spam of what's the Kazakhis all game
Yep.
through 30 points. That's pretty fun as well.
Yeah,
And
but that
that's
was kind of my point with the infantry divisions. They're reliant on infantry and infantry support tanks.
Nilla,
yeah.
you're a very big infantry player, and obviously your play style is very kind of front heavy, very aggressive early on. Have you ever played about with a more stable flatline income for an infantry division?
Yeah, I've been messing around with it with Korik and the Gronoshalki division. The main reason for that though is their air forces are so potent, and I think just being able to use planes that have copious amounts of HE bombers and AT planes is really effective right now with good RD support, which Korik does get pretty decent RD support, and then Gronoshalki gets great RD support. Um, I've been testing it. I like it, but I still really like my Vanguard 184th first Polish mechanized like rushes more so than like the more drawn out game. But if I'm gonna do the drawn out game, I really do like doing it with Korok or the Grenoshalki deck.
I'm just a very quick point here. I'm very interested. If you're playing up against balanced income, Nilla, will you always pick Vanguard, or is Maverick an option for you as well?
Oh yeah, if anybody's going like a V for victory or a jug or a balance, I'm always gonna go Vanguard. That 50 point, that 60 point, or even that 30 point difference there is just so much in terms of the decks that I play, with how cheap my tanks are, how cheap my infantry is, and how effective they are for their prices. that it's really a no-brainer to me, because with, like, for example, the 184th, if I go against like a balanced, I don't know, 5th Panzer, I'm gonna have a ISU 122. I'm gonna have two of them out in A phase and B phase, and that's going to pretty much make his tanks null and void as he's trying to fill the gaps that my infantry has made. So yeah, I'm going to go Maverick whenever or Vanguard whenever I see somebody go a late income phase deck.
Okay, interesting. And just actually, we started off asking this, and I think, Nilla, you gave your thoughts on V for Victory and Juggernaut. Now, I think for some time in the 1v1 community, we've written off Juggernaut as not a viable 1v1 income, and that's still the case. I think US Presser John tried and kind of failed with it, and I think the hope was with V for Victory it would bring in another income, for a longer phase than balanced. I'm interested, Tiger and Protozocker, what your thoughts are on V for Victory and Juggernaut. Although I think I know the Juggernaut thoughts. Are they viable in 1v1 play, do you think?
I love the idea of V for Victory, and I because I liked SSB in Normandy 44.
Your mic is loud again. I'm sorry. It's really loud again.
It's really loud again?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't change anything.
Fuck.
So yeah, I think it would be good to have V for Victory buffed a little bit. It's an interesting idea, but it needs like 10 more points in A phase, or like maybe 5 more points in A phase and 5 more points in B phase to be really competitive, I think. Because you nearly can hold with it, and then you fall apart completely. Like against, it's not supposed to win against Maverick anyways, but against all the other incomes, you just fall apart in B because you missed like 5-6 infantry units, and the enemy just rolls you over at the spot where you don't have infantry, or you miss an AT gun or something like that.
Tiger, your thoughts on V for Victory?
I just feel like it isn't that appealing because B phase is kind of important if you didn't have a really good A phase, and by really good I mean you won the game. And in a game like Steel Division 2, where there's a lot more depth to the map and a lot more units, it's most likely you won't win an A, and it's really rare you actually win an A to a point where you can afford to have 90 points in B. And so I feel like it suffers from the same problem that Juggernaut does, but it suffers from that problem a little bit later on and doesn't have the same compensation in C for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think that's a good point. I think the difference between Steel Division 2 and Steel Division 1, I think it's important in Steel Division 2 to have as many units out as possible kind of early, unless you're really good with trades. Sorry, go on, Proto.
I think it was even more important in Normandy 44. I think early income decks were even stronger there. But that's why SSB was really good there, because they were able to win an A.
I can attest that. Yeah.
And then B didn't matter.
A decks were really good. I can attest that, yeah.
Yes, I think I was kind of going for the what was it, the French SAS deck that had the kind of the similar income.
The SSB?
SS was it that, or was it the French FFI one?
No, you're thinking about the Demi group.
That's it. Yes.
No, they had
the Demi Brigade SAS. Yeah.
A lot of income in A and B.
Oh, I maybe go on.
They had low income in A, they had low income in B, and then they had really high income in C.
Ah, right, okay.
SAS was. They were nearly like Panzer, but as an infantry deck with good air.
Okay.
And like super cost efficient units.
So I think you're right though. At the end of the day, I personally don't think V for Victory is still kind of has bridged the gap between Juggernaut and Balanced. I don't think it's viable in 1v1, but I don't think it's perhaps far off. I think.
What?
Sorry, go on.
I think it's viable against balanced actually.
Do
If
you?
you run into, yeah, because you have the advantage on A, and then you play defensive in B, and then you fuck him in C. That's basically what you do because you run away with the income in C phase.
All right, I'm gonna have to
Simple.
dip out. The movers are here, so we're gonna move into my new house.
No problem.
I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you very much, Nilla. Thanks very much for joining us.
No problem. Take care.
Right, so we have lost
Hello.
Nilla there.
Oof. F in chat, boys.
So just bear with me. Now, just finishing this point. So V for Victory versus Balance. So Protozocker, you think that V for Victory is viable? The one problem I've got, and I kind of want to ask you about this, is if someone picks V for Victory, like if I'm playing a competitive match, I would probably just immediately swap my income to Vanguard, and maybe swap the deck that I'm using. So do you think there's going to be this kind of merry-go-round of income picks? Because if you pick V for Victory against Balanced, and then the player that was playing Balanced swaps to Vanguard income, I'm probably not going to play V for Victory against the Vanguard income.
Well, that's a shitty move to do. We are pretty much relying there on a gentleman's agreement that you don't change your income of your deck after you picked your deck.
Do you think people play that way? Because my experience is that people, there isn't really that gentleman's agreement.
Well, in normal open games it isn't, but so far I haven't heard too much about people switching around stuff in the startup of a game in the league.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
That was also pretty much a gentleman. Like, yeah, you can look at your deck and stuff beforehand, and then you jump into a lobby and put in your deck, and then you start.
Okay, interesting. Tiger, how was your? I mean, you played in Steel Division League in Normandy. How was your experience? Well, I suppose actually incomes weren't a thing back then, were they? You couldn't pick income.
No, they were all fixed, yeah. So you had things like the 116th Panzer with the same income quotations mark as the Panzerna, but they have 10 points less in B, because why not? So it was 90, 100, then 5, 200, and 125, and then the Panzerna was 90, 115 to 125. So Panzerna just got 10 points because why not?
So, Tiger, being a big player in Steel Division Normandy, and I hesitate to ask whether you enjoy that game more than Steel Division 2, but do you think
do you really want to ask that? Are you sure that's the question?
Do you think the income, the fact that you can change income, how do you feel about that change in Steel Division?
So whenever the game came out, I said that I always thought that incomes were something unique to Division. Because if you play the Rats, you can just, if the Rats were in Steel Division 2, you could just take all Fireflies in A and then rush and have Vanguard and all that shit. What made Divisions unique was just you need to play with the units you have, and you need to play with the income you have. Sure, it reduces variety, but it added uniqueness to every game. And I still stand by that. I feel like I don't really like the Liberty, even if it is something very popular. I don't like it.
So from me, the biggest point is not about liberty, but about that with the fixed income for every division. In Steel Division 1944, you had a lot of divisions that were already shitty by default because of their income, and a couple ones that were good by default because of their income. And that way you had a meta no matter what you do about the units because just of the income.
Yeah.
And in Division 2, much more divisions are viable because you can take them with all the incomes and change them to the fitting of your liking. Because Eugen is not good in giving.
Yeah,
the right
you see
income.
the problem is actually Eugen, not the idea. You had the mods for that. Yeah, no, I understand that point. I feel like if Eugen put more effort into actually fixing incomes, then it would be better. But I guess Eugen just doesn't think that maybe giving 130, 130 to 130 to two divisions would make it OP, considering most divisions didn't even have 130 throughout the entire game. Like concern a 90, 115 to 125, and you look at the third armored 130, 130, 130. Well, you lose an A, you lose an B, you lose an C. Congratulations.
Well, the reason I kind of asked that is because when Steel Division 2 was first announced and they have the changeable incomes, I kind of had the same thought as you, Tiger. I actually did enjoy the kind of different incomes of divisions, so I wasn't quite sure how it's going to work out. And to be honest, I like being able to choose my income with different divisions, but I do also think the divisions maybe don't stand out a little bit away from each other. I think it's the right way to have the choice of incomes. I think they made the right decision to have the choice of income. But I do still feel like I missed something from Steel Division Normandy where the income was kind of set for. But that might just be a feeling rather than something good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who complained about divisions being too similar and with the income and stuff, they just played the same income of everything. For example, a lot of people only play Vanguard and never tested out Maverick, even though it's a really cool income to play and try out. And I think with the 6 incomes we have now, it's much better because you can have much more different decks and different matchups in the income as well. Like I think Flatline made the game more variable, which is a really good addition to the meta because now balanced can be in a position where it's nearly as the same income, but always a bit behind till the 25-minute marks, and then just a bit ahead, not like far behind then far ahead like it was before. And yeah, the same goes for Vanguard, who has an opponent now that is always just a bit ahead. And so I think the matchups got much more interesting with Flatline. It didn't change the meta too much, but it made it much more variable in the games you can have now, which is really cool.
Yeah, but about your point of people complaining about incomes didn't play different incomes, I can say that's a lie because I've played pretty much all incomes in this game.
Yeah, I didn't. But
yeah.
you are just one example. But I know a couple of people who say, "Oh, all divisions feel the same," but that's you building the divisions all the same and building them with the same income.
Okay, I can accept that. It's just think about a division that has IS2s and the infantry, or a division that has 234s. It's like you think about a lot of divisions, you know. If you think about Steel Division 44, think about the division that has a Steward. You'll think about the 7th or the
No,
third armored. You won't think about all divisions in this game. So you
but
see
there's
my
a lot of
point.
stewards. No, there's a lot of stewards in division.
Yeah, but what
as well.
divisions were viable with stewards?
Well, the honeys weren't that great, but 50s was still a good deck.
Well, maybe I think both of you have good points, actually, and maybe we'll have this discussion another day as well because we're kind of getting a little bit away from income now, but I think it all starts with income, doesn't it? And the feeling about different divisions, and income was definitely used to be a part of that, but now it's kind of separate. But on the other hand, you know, third guards, tank core, you can play them every way possible. But is that more to do with the division being very strong, or is it something else? I don't know. I'm I'm talking off the top of my head here. Just before we finish this and obviously finish the stream, I do want to pick up on two questions from, or kind of the question from Genzi Kaka, which I think is to you really, Pro Soccer. Kind of, it looks like supported by White Eagle as well, where they were, I think, asking about whether income should be announced along with bans, kind of in the pick and ban phase. Do you think you would ever consider that?
Yeah, I considered for season 3. I didn't want to do any changes for season 2. And I will do it in the resume, asking people about how they felt about it in season 2 and stuff. And I like it on the base idea, but on the other side, it would be even something more. Like, I think we would even see more ties, because now you already counterpick a division. And if you then counterpick a division and an income, it would be even heavier counterpick and an even more heads-up battle for the other guy who gets counterpicked.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a bit careful about that.
I can understand. No, I can understand. And I think I hear what you're saying, and I hear that, you know, perhaps feedback from players as well will help you make that decision. So, but it's good to hear that you're considering, you know, that option, which is really good. So I think we're going to finish the stream there, guys. Thanks very much, Tiger, for joining us, because it was actually quite late notice as well. So thank you, Tiger. Everyone in chat, like I said at the start, please head over to Tiger's stream if you've not been there before. Check it out. Click follow now so you don't miss when he's next on. And Frodozocker as well. Thanks very much for joining us once again. I know you're kind of a regular here. I appreciate you being on every time that you're on. So thank you.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm loving it every time as well.
Oh, that's good to hear. Also, up in chat, I've just put Protozocker's channel as well. I think I've got an. Oh, it's because I'm on Twitch. I got myself echoed. Yeah, so go there and head out and check out Protozocker's channel. You're probably already following Protozocker, but make sure you follow him anyway. And obviously Nilla as well. He was in here earlier, so go check out his YouTube videos. I think he puts together some really good videos, kind of focusing on how a top player is playing, kind of when at the exact point of their playing and what they're thinking about. So hopefully he will continue making those videos. Everyone in chat, thanks very much for joining us once again. I appreciate it every week. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Please jump on my Discord and give me feedback, and we will try and change things or incorporate things kind of into what we're doing here with the Generals Lounge. So yeah, very much appreciate to the guests tonight and all of you guys that are joining me. Well, that's it. Thanks very much for joining us, and we will see you again hopefully next week, but who knows what coronavirus is going to do in the interim. So we might be in next week with the Generals Lounge. It might have to wait for, you know, the week after. We'll kind of play it by ear, but I'll update my Discord and I'll try and keep other people updated as well. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.